Hi, welcome to Closer to Happy. I'm Cheryl.
And I'm Cliff. In this episode, we're going to talk about all the details that we're going through to plan to go back to Portugal for an extended period of time.
So in this episode, we are talking about the planning that's going into a 3-month stay in Portugal.
And this time we're going to be looking at it through a different lens because we're thinking of moving there at some point, like we mentioned before. And now this is not going to be the vacation visit that it was before. This is going to be let's really scout this out and see what it would really be like to live there. We've been studying the language a little bit. We've been finding out other towns we hadn't known about, other areas that we hadn't investigated before. And so we have a lot to take in, but we want a home base so we can leave our bags and be able to travel to different areas for an overnight trip. So it's going to be it's going to be an exploratory adventure.
I did a lot of research on the most affordable, best ways to stay long-term, short-term, long-term. And I found a company called Ukio that's out of Barcelona that has short-term rentals, long-term rentals, nothing less than, I think, 90 days. So I'm excited to give them a try. We found an apartment in a neighborhood that we know we like. We have the luxury of that. And
we know that because we had seen it before when we were there.
Right. So I'm excited about that. I have no idea. The pictures look great. We'll see.
Yeah, it's a little nerve-wracking to think about that you're kind of stuck for 3 months if you happen to hate it. But we're really hoping that the travel gods are with us on this one, and they're going to just make this work out.
Yeah. The other thing that we were we've gone back and forth over is, do we rent our home out while we're gone to generate revenue and also have someone in it? And so we listed it on Zillow and Airbnb and Vrbo, which I just found out it's not VRBO, it's Vrbo.
That's a terrible name for a company, by the way.
Terrible name for a company. What were they thinking?
If they're watching, they should just change
They should change their name. We can help you with that. Anyway.
Oh, no.
But we took all the photos, we listed our property, and pulled it down like 3 days later because people started expressing an interest and we freaked out.
Yeah, we didn't really mean for you to come over and be in our house. we just wanted to have you pay for some of our mortgage when we're going. Right. The realities of somebody being in your house is something we have honestly had to get used to, and it feels like it shouldn't be a big deal, but for some reason it really is. And so we have gone through a little bit of teetering about that, and where we landed was that we have somebody who's local that we trust, and that way it feels a little more comfortable to us. And also we don't have to take everything down, because in order to rent your house out to people, you have to take down everything that's personal, and our whole house is filled with pictures of our family. So we kind of screwed ourselves there. And so that's something that we would have had to deal with, and of course clear out everything else in the house, which is a very big deal. So having someone in here that we know just takes a lot of that stress away.
Yeah. So I'm excited and happy that ended up working.
How did we find her?
She works at USD.
So friends and family, before you do anything, ask around and see if there's anybody that knows somebody that's done this kind of thing that they trust. So that way, I think you at least have kind of a Yelp review level assurance that they'll be okay.
I also found some pet sitting companies that hook you up with people that have been vetted and will come in and vetted, yeah, and will come in and stay in your home and watch your pets. I considered that. I'll post it down below, the names of the companies that I had people suggest for us. But that is another route for sure. And then just finding a house sitter, another way to go as well. And there are a lot of companies that have house sitters that you can hire, or not necessarily hire, but in exchange for them staying at your house.
Talk about the mileage that you used for this trip, because Cheryl is a genius at learning how to wield the miles.
I am. I'm an idiot savant.
Or half of that. Sorry.
Anyway, so yes, we had accrued a lot of miles both on our American Express card. We had so many miles because we used to put entire commercial productions on our card.
Yeah, like hundreds of thousands of dollars at a time. So we really racked up a lot of points that we still have, right? I
Yeah,
mean, we're
no,
still using them.
we've been slowly using them, and the intention was to save them for now, right? That's why we were saving them, and then we also are part of Alaska Airlines frequent flyer program, which I'm here to tell you, I think it's the best. I think it's absolutely the best. They just joined One World, so you can use your miles for international flights. We're flying British and have used miles for that. And they're just really flexible and helpful. And I mean, we fly Alaska extensively anyway. So, no, I'm not getting paid by Alaska, even though I probably should be.
Really should pay
If
us.
you're
So
listening, Alaska. So that's how we are managing to travel and save money. While we're in Lisbon, one of the other things is that we are not going to rent a car.
Lisbon has an amazing public transportation system, and the Uber rates there are extraordinarily low, like lower than anywhere else I've ever seen. I don't
Yeah.
know quite how they do that.
Yeah.
But last time we were there, we did rent a car to see the other parts of Portugal, and we, for instance, drove up to Porto in a car. But when we got to Porto, in Porto, we didn't need a car at all, and it sat for like 4 days in a parking garage. There's really no need for cars in Portugal once you get to the main cities.
Right.
To navigate the coastline, things like that, yes, we're going to need a car for that.
Yeah. But again, if you're going to Porto, if you're going to Lisbon, don't bother with a car. Car rentals are very expensive in Portugal and throughout most of Europe, I think.
Yeah.
And we ended up having to pay for parking, and driving was so challenging that it didn't make sense for us. So we ended up Ubering everywhere anyway. So.
Right. And the dollar's really strong right now.
Yeah.
So that's a benefit.
Yeah, huge benefit.
Yeah.
So one of the other things that people have asked us is, what are the visa requirements in Portugal? There is no visa required if you're staying less than 90 days. We suppose that if you went and then left out of the Eurozone and then came back, you probably could navigate staying a little bit longer.
We're not promoting that idea.
And we're not doing
'cause that's
that.
not
Nope.
totally legal,
We're
but
totally not doing that. Portugal. But there is that. And then there are a couple other visa schemes that they have. The D7 visa is, I think, a very easy visa to get. You need to be able to demonstrate that you have passive income, and you're not going to be dependent on the government or.
how much passive income did they say?
I think it's like $700 a month. It's really low. So I think that the requirement was having $9,000 in a bank account in Portugal. Now, our attorney suggested that we have about $20,000, but still seems like a pretty reasonable price.
He suggested we put that in his account. So, I mean, that may have had something to do with his suggestion.
Yeah, maybe so. That seems to me like a very reasonable way to get temporary residency there. The other thing, though, it's not quite that cut and dried, is that you have to have a year-long lease for somewhere within Portugal. So that's where maybe the money comes in. And unless you're ready to go, you get your visa and you're ready to go and you're ready to stay for a year, you're kind of stuck.
And one of the things that is kind of unusual for Americans is that there are, you can break leases there after a year. So you may be forced to sign a 3-year lease, but then you can get out of it after a year. So just keep that in mind. And I don't know exactly what all that would mean when you were doing a year-long lease, because we haven't done that yet, but we are going to be looking into all those details as well. But that happens to be one thing we learned along the way.
The last way of gaining residency in Portugal is the Golden Visa. And up until January of 2022, it was, I think, quite reasonable. I think it was 500,000 euros investment in real estate or different funds or commercial real estate. And there were no zones excluded. So it could be Lisbon, you could be up in Porto, could be down in the Algarve. That's changed. And I think the number's gone up to 600,000. Don't quote me here. I'll double check and I'll put it down in the notes. But the numbers has increased, and those zones that I just mentioned are excluded. So investments are going to have to be outside of the main, most popular expat areas.
The golden visa idea was really a great idea to get people to become aware of Portugal and to get investment money into Portugal. The problem is that it drove up a lot of the prices, and so they realized that they needed to limit the areas that people are allowed to invest in to get these visas, because it was making too much money going into the cities and not enough into the other areas of the country. So now they're trying to get all of us to look at other areas of Portugal. And I think that's great, because we've been hearing some wonderful things about the Silver Coast, which is between Lisbon and Porto, and Nazare's over there. The surf is great. It looks beautiful. So we're going to be checking that out too. So just because they don't want investments into Lisbon, Porto, or the Algarve, it doesn't mean there's not some great opportunities. So definitely check that out.
One of the things, we were out on a walk yesterday and listening to a podcast on happiness. And one of the hacks they had was to prepay your travels so that by the time your trip comes around, it almost feels like it's a free trip. And as crazy as that sounds, I think there's a lot of truth to it. So
it's like layaway. Remember layaway?
Yeah, exactly. So it's a little bit of pain when you pay it all up front, but then when you go, you're really not thinking about what things are costing and how you're going to pay for it. You're just there in the moment. So I'm a big advocate for that.
Yeah.
I've been doing it for a long time. And I was happy to hear that really is a key contributor to how much enjoyment you get out of a trip.
Yeah.
One of the things that I want to try on this trip that I haven't really done before is have us sit down and set an intention for what we want the trip to be like, what we want our experiences to be like.
Starting with the outcome then lets you be able to look at different ways that you can achieve that outcome without having to go down a to-do list and feel like you're tied to a certain way of getting something done. If the overall accomplishment means to you that you want to be enjoying the food and being healthy and, taking care of yourself and seeing as much of the country as you can, whatever it is, if you figure out the goal and then you go about thinking of all these different ways that you can accomplish that goal, it takes a lot of pressure off the things that you feel you need to do, so you can really just enjoy moving forward in all those little buckets every day.
And I think when we talk about goals, it's not about, I want to make sure I see this and I want to make sure I see that and I want to make sure that I'm active every minute of every day. I think it can be a higher level, like how do I want to feel while I'm there? Do I want to make sure that I'm planning time to relax and just be in the moment and enjoy my partner or meet new people? I think that you can set a higher level intention. I think people tend to get caught up in the minutia of all of the activities they want to do, and before you know it, your trip is over. And
we talked about when we were on our first trip over there, we left a lot unplanned so we could have serendipity come in and just go with the flow. This time we did need to get a place that was for 3 months, so we had to think about that, but we got a place that was affordable enough where we could go and leave our bags there and go for day trips. We want to continue having some free form here, because that's really what we enjoyed before. And just because we're thinking of moving there now and we're looking at it through that lens, neither one of us wants this to become, we don't want to carry all the stuff that you normally bring into a move like this into this trip. We want to be able to maintain the lightness of the way that we first saw Portugal, even though we're talking about putting down deeper roots.
Right.
And I think we can do that.
I think we can do that too. I think someone asked us the other day, well, what are you going to do for 3 months? And I said, I don't know.
We have no idea.
No idea. But I think we're going to have a great time.
But, we have been thinking about what we want to do in general, and we have ideas that are starting to come that all of the ideas we're considering can be done from there. They can be done from anywhere. So it's already a lens that we're using for concepting what we want to do for the next phase of our chapter, of our jobs, of our business, and of our lives. And I think this is really going to be a way to bring that to life. And I'm really excited about it. So anyway, we thought we'd share that, and we'll be in touch as we get closer to our departure date, because I'm sure there's a lot of other things that are going to come up.
I think maybe the next time we'll post something, we might even be in Portugal. I don't know.
That would be nice.
Yes, it would.
All right. We'll talk soon.
Cheers.
Cheers.